At least be up there and dance with the music. Alright? It's me a hana mahayes. Very more. Alright,
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President and the executive team. And we recognize the moderator of General Assembly and delegates of conference. On behalf of the Pan-African Presbyterian Men Fellowships, President, the Reverend Karika Kaira, who's based in Kenya, and our patrons, one of them here, Old Man Jofu, I bring you greetings from the Pan-African Presbyterian Men Fellowship. I'm also pleased that the Evangelical Presbyterian Church has built this year because they are also the members of the Presbyterian Men Fellowship, and they have just come from Ghana, from Lesotho, obviously to do the work that we do in the Pan-African Presbyterian Men Fellowship, as we attempt to bring men all over the continent to be part of this big movement of men. As we bring you these greetings, we want to remind you that in our conference, which we held last year in Ho, Ghana, which the UPCSA, Fellowship of Men, and the UPCSA also attended. Our working theme was African Christian men working together against climate change. Our president, the Reverend Nojogo, made a presentation in that conference on GBV, and the EPCSA made a compelling presentation on climate change and what our approach should be to confront the demon of climate change in our continent. Some of the decisions which we took in that conference included the fact that more education needs to be done about the effects of climate change. We also agreed that in the next 5 years, the men fellowships in the continent must plant 5 million trees in the whole continent. And we agreed that wherever President we hold conferences of men, we must plant no less than 20 trees, which I expect that we are going to plant here. The Evangelical Presbyterian Church Men's Guild have already planted hundreds of trees in their churches, in the schools, and everywhere they go. Therefore, Mr. President, this greeting is about a reminder that we must plant the trees, but we also urge, Mr. President, that as environmental workers, men, when we leave here tomorrow, we must leave this place spotless. There should be no paper, there should be no bottles lying around, there should be no plastics lying around, but this must not be left for men in the Presbytery of Drankensburg. All of us must clean before we leave. This is our contribution towards dealing with this demon of climate change. The FAP is now present in the 4 regions in the continent: the South, the East, the West, and the North of Africa. For us, we are launching the Southern Africa chapter of PAP in November in Livingston, on the 9th of November. And we invite you to be part of this launch, which is more likely to be opened by the Vice President of Zambia. In July next year, we will meet again in Juba, South Sudan, and we'll talk about the armed conflicts in the continent. Because those who are making the guns cry are men. And it is men who must silence the guns in the continent. We also request you to prepare to send a delegation of men to that conference. From our perspective as the PAPMF, we ask that men should refocus our efforts and resources, not only to ourselves, but to the mission for which we are founded for, which is reaching out and introducing Christ to all those who do not know Him. And our message is very clear. Boardrooms and church buildings cannot be the measure of our work. The streets, the offices, the shebeens, the taverns should be the measure of our work. That is why the PAPMF have adopted Evangelism Explosion, which is an initiative from South Africa. And it has worked for them in Uganda, in Tanzania, and many countries in Burundi, where we've been able to make contact and establish branches of men who are part of the PAPMF. This, Mr. President, is our 80-20 principle. And the 80-20 principle is very simple. We must use 20% of our time to sit in conferences like this and plan, but use 80% of our time to implement the plans, not vice versa. We hope to see you in Zambia and Livingston next year, and we hope that when we come back next year, the men of Drankensburg will have watered and taken care of the trees which the Fellowship of Men is going to plant. Thank you very much.